disregarding your politics, what do you think about President Clinton's plan to organize and get the topics of the world, some of them that you have even talked about, get experts to sit around and talk like they used to have years ago in Aspen, Colorado. The leaders of from every part of the world getting together, always to keep abreast of what was happening, what changes needed.
Unfortunately, they've been doing that, and they still do that. They have those meetings all the time. That's the frightening thing. The frightening thing is that they're having meetings all the time. They had meetings in, FEMA had meetings in New Orleans a year or two ago, and they said, we're getting the plan all together. It's pretty good. So tell me about the plans. There are no plans. Is that frightening to you and me? He runs a business. I'm sure he plans. I'm sure he's got his targets, and he's got his, if I do this, that happens. If I do that, this happens. And we'll do this, and my goal is this. I'm sure anybody that, you can't stay in business. You couldn't be successful in business if you did what they did, or have not done. And once you wake up 3 days later and say, oh, is that what happened to my warehouse? I guess I should have put another lock on the door. I mean, you'd be out of business. You can't be in business. You can't be a doctor. You can't be a lawyer. You can't be anything. If you're a software person and writing code for a computer, you make one little mistake, it's gone. There's no program. It's dead. The computer's dead. Every little thing counts. If you're a fireman, you damn well, you make a little mistake, you're dead. You make a policeman, and he's trained to recognize this and this and be honest. You make a mistake, you could be dead. These people make mistakes and say, oh, I guess it was his fault. I guess we didn't do a good job. I'm sorry. That's crap. Okay? You couldn't have achieved what you all have achieved by playing the game like they playing it. That's what, believe me, I'm not the only person angry. I would think that you're angry because that's what I read. The whole country is angry that we're looking stupid and we're looking not like we're, most business school graduates in the world have come through training in this country because their business schools were no really good across the seas. So they've come here and they've learned all the right principles and ways to do things and so forth. And they've taken them back and they're doing a good job of it. But what are we doing with it? Yes, this lady had a question.
Do you think this anger will make a difference in the congressional elections next year?
Oh, I think it absolutely will. But then who's going to spin it which way? You see, you've got a governor of Louisiana who's a Democrat. You've got the mayor of New Orleans who's a Democrat. And of course, you got the federal government, which is controlled by a Republican. So they're spinning it right now. They're all a bunch of whatever you want to call them, okay? The point is, humanity has to come into the play here, into this particular issue. And all of our lives are going to be affected by oil prices, the exports that come out of that area to the rest of the world, soybeans, corn. 40% of the exports come through that port. All right? The fact is, it is and all the oil and natural gas that flows in through that port. We have to rebuild something there. Are they going to come up with something good? I don't think so. They should have had plans for 50 years of how to rebuild New Orleans because you're aware, of course, that the Dutch live underwater, right? The Dutch have systems and redundant systems to fight the ocean that are 50 times the power of a Category 5 hurricane. Why didn't we take some of their technology, some of their concepts and do? Sydney, Australia has. Many countries have this. Where we had, you've seen the pictures of it, like a foundation. The levee in some places is like a concrete wall.
The Dutch have done very well.
Pardon?
I said the Dutch, with the floods, have done very
The Dutch, well, they're the experts, so why didn't we have the Dutch come in and design something? I'm sure it wouldn't have been $5 billion, it wouldn't be $200 billion, and you'd have a city that'd still be alive. That's the problem. Politics, greed, that's what's been uncovered. Not that it doesn't exist everywhere, it does exist everywhere. But at some point, some people say it's to our best interest. to do the right thing. That's where we obviously have not been able to accomplish in this particular situation. Does anybody have something else to comment about this? Yes?
You touched on, it seems to me that you don't ascribe any blame to brilliant leaders in the White House.
I don't?
You're not ascribing any blame to them. They orchestrated a series of disasters.
Not listening.
I've been talking about this for maybe a half an hour. I do blame them. What do you mean?
In other words, when Bush first came into office, he abrogated the treaty on the environment. You know that.
Kyoto treaties, right.
Anyway, so that may attribute something to the disasters which happened in.
Well, everything is related. I would agree with you, sir, but you said I didn't attribute any failures, and you might not have been listening at the moment.
I think this is a series of disasters which are attributable to one Republican organization.
Well, no, I don't agree with that. I say it's attributable to many organizations. The government, in this particular case, made things a lot worse. They could have salvaged and saved people, and they did not act properly. They did not act properly in Iraq when we invaded and conquered them, and we let them riot. And Donald Rumsfeld said, let them riot, they're letting off steam. So he let them riot, so they looted, they burned, they stole, they killed, and they got the idea that this is a way of life, this is wonderful, let's keep doing this. And that's what happened here. We didn't pay attention. Didn't we have looters down there shooting at the police? And therefore some bus drivers wouldn't drive in their buses? So the government did not do the proper thing. So you're in agreement. We're in agreement, sir. The fact is, however, it's much bigger than that, because it's not something that was unknown. We've known the Pentagon had proper generators, food, and all sorts of other equipment lined up at all the air bases and army bases all around New Orleans and the Gulf Coast. Are you aware of that, right? And they sat there for 5 days. They sat there. You know the story about the two pilots, helicopter pilots from Pensacola that flew in water, and flying back they saw people ready to drown and save them, and they were reprimanded for saving drowning people about to drown. That's bureaucracy. That's horrendous, isn't it? We're supposed to be people that teach our individual children to have an initiative, not follow the rules when you see there's some higher calling. It's not Japan. It's not some other automated kind of society where you follow orders, period. We're individualists, right? That's what these guys did to save lives, and they were reprimanded for it. You know the story. I don't make up the stories. You know, probably, there's a big group here. You probably know 10 times as many stories as I know, because I can't read everything. And the fact is, if somebody disagrees with me, stand up and disagree with me. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Or else I'm voicing the collective view of what's happening. So we have, again, I'm here to talk about the 21 trends, but this sort of becomes the super trend. The super trend here is we're going downhill, and I hate to say it, because I fly an American flag. I fly an American flag 10 months of the year in my house, outside my house. And you know something? 3 days after New Orleans, Katrina hit, I took it down. I felt less desired for me to keep up that flag. Now it'll go back up, because I'm still proud of this country. I've fought for this country, and I feel that the people that have been educated and have enjoyed the fruits of everything that this country has had to offer are the backbone of what we have here. But we have to be very cautious and aware of all those other people out there that do not want this. They are so much involved with themselves and their own selfish interests that the hell with everybody else. But that's what's been uncovered. And if you disagree with me, please disagree. Let me hear your view. There's one lady back there. Yes, she wants to talk. Nobody else does. That's fine.
The one thing we'll all agree is that the leadership in this country has been responsible for where we're at today. It started at the time, unfortunately, that Mr. Bush became president. Everything began to.
Well, I cannot take any political speeches. I want to end on a positive note. I want to end on a positive note. I'm over my time, but I have to end on a positive note. I want to talk about aerospace, okay? Now, how many people are aware of the project, Jacob's Ladder project? How many people are aware of the Jacob's Ladder project? Okay, Jacob's Ladder project. Well, this is an international project. I first heard about it, truthfully, from a scientist from the University of Jerusalem who was a friend of my, a cousin of my wife's, and we had them over for dinner. And he mentioned that he had just come from Albuquerque from a conference with NASA and other international organizations on the Jacob's Ladder project. I said, well, what is that? He says, oh, that's the project where the plans are to build a 20-mile-high building, elevator really, that will be able to take these international shots, such as Columbia, Enterprise, what have you, and they just push off into space without having to leave Cape Canaveral and the other locations. And I said, come on, you're pulling my leg. He said, no, it is true, and he sent me papers, and I've since subsequently looked it up on the internet, and NASA has the papers, and you can read about it in the New York Times, on ABC News. I have papers here if somebody wants to see them. There is a project which is definitely on the drawing pages to build a 20-mile-high building. And I say to myself, why are they doing this? Why are we doing all of this moon shot, Mars shot, whatever? Is it really that we just have this insatiable appetite to learn? Or is it that eventually, now here's the positive part, eventually we're going to have a lot of these around the world, and the rest, whoever's left on the earth, is going to be able to push off and leave it behind. Because based on what we know, atomic bombs, disasters, the earth is a finite life. I'm talking 1,000, 2,000, 50,000, 100,000 years from now. I hope people are around. But at some point, they may want to just get in one of those elevators, go up the elevator, and say goodbye and push off. So there's one of the positive things. Mankind will survive. Thank you very much.